Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Tam, and today I want to talk about 5 benefits that I've received from being in quarantine. Now, before I get started on this video, I do want to check my privilege at the door. I do realize that this time has been difficult for very many people. People have lost their jobs, have lost loved ones, and have really struggled financially and mentally during this quarantine. But with that said, even though there are negative things that are happening, we still have the opportunity to take a look at the positives, and that's exactly what I plan to do here today. So let's get started. So first on my list is the ability to refine and implement new habits. For me, I never had this much control of my time before. Prior to this, a lot of us were getting up super early, having breakfast, sitting in traffic, going to work, sitting back in traffic on the commute home, grabbing something quick to eat most of the time, get 1 or 2 Netflix shows in, and then do it all over again. So now it's a little different. We have a little bit more control over our time. We're less obligated socially and in other areas of our lives to do things that require us to pull away from our routine. A lot of times when we're trying to implement new habits, we do get distracted, whether you're trying to eat well and then there's a happy hour and then you end up getting drinks or something that's not very healthy for you, or you go to dinner with friends and you end up having 3 margaritas and a bunch of greasy nachos, and there's nothing wrong with that, but now we have less distractions, less obligations that pull away. A common complaint that a lot of people say about quarantine is that life could start feeling pretty monotonous, but with that monotony comes control, because if you mess up on a habit one day, the next day it's the same day, it's the same thing, and you're not distracted by all these other things that throw you off your game, and you can really just focus and hone in on what you're doing day in and day out and really refine that process to take you where you want to go in the long term. But with that said, you also have to be careful because you can really get sucked up into one activity. Say before, when you're working for an employer, they probably don't want you on your phone all day. But now that most of us are working from home, our phones are right there. We could get sucked into social media because there's no one really stopping us from checking our phones. And so it's very easy for one habit to really consume our day or take up more time than it normally would and become a destructive force in our lives. So it's really important that we still are implementing some sort of structure to our day, to still schedule our day, and also keep ourselves accountable. The second benefit of being in quarantine for me is that I have had the time to do a lot of self-reflecting. I feel like all of us have gotten a lot of more alone time than we're normally used to, and that can make some of us feel uncomfortable. But it's really important to know the difference between spending time alone and then spending intentional time alone. A lot of us don't really know how to be with ourselves. You think, well, I'm always with me, so what's the point, or what's the difference? For me, it's a lot easier to visualize like myself, my other self, as a friend, because you could have a friend with you all the time following you around, but if you're not intentional and present in spending time with that friend, that relationship is really going to suffer. Say you're in your room by yourself and your self is a friend with you, and if you're just on your phone or watching a movie or distracted, you're not really spending intentional time with that friend. You're not taking time to get to know that friend. Say, how's your day? How are you feeling? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? To really spend intentional time with yourself, to get to know yourself, to check in, see how you're feeling, and to really strengthen that relationship. I also think that it's a great time for self-reflection because we're able to kind of take a step back from society and all of the roles that we play within society, whether you play the role of a boss or employee or all these things that, you kind of wear a different hat, to where now you can take a step back and really get a truer version of yourself. Who are you without all of your roles? And I think that's really important and one of the benefits that quarantine has provided for a lot of us. The third benefit that I've received from being in quarantine is the ability to learn new skills and hobbies. I feel like with all this free time that I've had, I've been able to do a lot of cool things. I've been trying to challenge myself to cook for myself for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And with that is the need or the requirement to know how to cook. And Pinterest has been such a great tool for that. And I've been able to try so many cool recipes that I probably would have never been able to try at a restaurant because, I don't know, it's just random recipes like bulgogi meatballs or something like that. I've gotten time to invest in my future. I've started taking real estate classes to get my license. Painting, I even got into model homes. Who knew I'd be into that? But without quarantine, I probably wouldn't have done these things. The fourth benefit that I received from being in quarantine is finding out what is truly essential in my life and also protecting my peace. I feel like this time where we've had to pull it back and step away from our daily regular routine, we really figure out what we need and what we don't need and what was there just because it was there and what really is important to us. And it's been an enlightening process. There's been easy stuff like realizing that I don't need to go out every weekend and get drunk just to have fun. I can do things at home. I realize that it's nice to spend quality like alone time with friends, not being like super drunk and wild and crazy. To the more serious things of realizing what friendships or what relationships you need to let go of that weren't really benefiting you. What activities were you engaging in that you thought you needed or was just there because you're just used to doing it that you really can live without. Also, protecting my peace. I feel like now that things have really calmed down, I really have been able to be super aware of anything that disturbs my peace. I like to think of it like a lake. Before life was crazy, there's a lot of commotion going on. It's like winds blowing everywhere, and the waters were choppy. But now that things have slowed down a little bit, my lake, my life lake here has been able to be more placid. So it's like calmer. And now even just a pebble dropping into it, anything that disturbs my peace, I'm so hyper aware of what it is and where it's coming from. And now I can make an educated decision on whether I want to continue to allow that thing to have an effect on my life. Where before, when waves are choppy, I could throw a huge boulder in there and it wouldn't even matter. I wouldn't know, and things would just get, under the bar, I guess that's the saying. But now I have the ability to hone in on those things and really to get rid of anything in my life that really disturbs my peace. Okay, so we finally made it to my last and final point, my fifth point. Thank you for sticking with me. And that is gratitude. I think that we all can collectively say that we've taken a lot of our everyday lives prior to quarantine for granted. Um, I feel like we've taken little things like going out and sitting down at a restaurant with your friends for granted to the bigger things like being able to see family for the holidays or even being able to be with them in the hospital if anything ever goes wrong. And I think we could all collectively say that it has been a very hard time for the majority of us. And with that, I'm just left with nothing but a feeling of gratitude for the life that I had prior and all of those things that we were able to do that we didn't even know were rights. And also, I'm very grateful for all the people that have stepped up during this time to really show up and be those heroes. We should also thank ourselves. We've been through it, guys. So give yourself a pat on the back. And lastly, one thing that, has come from all of us is realizing that we are all one. And I don't mean that in some, woo woo way, but like this virus is the one thing that has really the whole world, every single country has had to deal with. And it really makes us realize that we are all human, that we are all one. And anything that affects one of us can affect all of us. So I know that it feels like this could be such a divisive time, whether that's politics and people not stepping up to the plate and the gays going to Puerto Vallarta. Like, Trump, it feels like it's a time where we're all dividing and, we're all arguing with each other, but we have kind of been united by this virus. So with all that said, thank you for joining me on this video. I know it's kind of long, but I hope that you could take some things away, or it inspires you to spend your quarantine a little bit differently, or even just helps you in a shift in perspective. I just felt like I just wanted to express these thoughts and share my feelings, and hopefully that it would be beneficial to someone out there. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.